pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Mr. Gioffre. So Mr. Gioffre has to go to a meeting tonight, so unless anybody objects terribly, we're going to put him to the top of the agenda to give his management report along with Mr. Lawyer. Go ahead, Mr. Gioffre.
Okay, we started the season off with some cold, rainy weather, so that kind of set us behind. But as of this point, we're ready to open and operate. We've gotten all the duties that we needed to get done, including putting out the new ropes for the lifeguards. So all of that was just finished this week, including the 472 tons of new sand, which we needed to level the beach first. Then we put the new sand on, and then we spread it around the beach as far as it would go. The work was completed on the pedestrian entrance and wall damage at Forest Avenue and Oakland Beach intersection, as well as the damaged stone wall by Seaside Johnny's. The Pond Lake Connection Company came by the park, and Bill will elaborate on that in a few minutes. Now the cracked corn dispenser, we've been having problems with that down at the duck pond, but I believe Ann, or I think it's Ann, right? Yes. Yeah, got a hold of the fella that makes it, and he's going to put in a stronger mechanism. Thank you. Yeah, because a lot of the kids there, and I believe it was the kids, were turning it and turning it and turning it till it got to the point that the feed just came totally out. So we're on our way of fixing that. I'm going to just skip down. Parking, security, and safety. We printed the leash laws, and we're handing them out. We seem to be getting a response from the dog walkers. There's not quite as many dogs running around the park as there were before, so that's a good early indication. Mark Casada started work and preparing all the equipment and supplies for opening on beach season. Bill will talk about the biologist that contacted us about the survey of shorebird nests on the rocks outside of the beach. Personnel, all staff positions for cashiers, permits, security, parking, and maintenance are filed. Schedules are also completed. We're still recruiting lifeguards. The totals by department are maintenance 10, security 12, parking 10, cashiers and permits 19. We updated the staff orientation handout, and we had a good response from our employees for the staff orientation. The Lust Garden Cancer Walk was a success, and it wasn't a great day, I believe, right, Bill?
It was okay. The NAMI was the one.
Oh, the NAMI was the one that they didn't get quite as many. That's mental health walk. Didn't get quite as many as last year. Friends of Rye Town Park sponsored a ladybug release. Media releases went out to all the relevant media, weekly newspapers, so forth and so on, about the opening of the beach season, which will be this weekend starting Friday. And it looks like we're going to have good weather, so we're looking at a possible full house. Bill will discuss the park development. I had sent a proposal that my senior staff worked on. I know that in the past we've rejected this, but the situation has changed. Playland is not going to have fireworks night on Wednesday nights, and that'll put a $20,000 hole in our budget. Now, last year, after working very hard to get our income to a point where we didn't gain anything, we didn't lose anything. That's probably the first time in 50 years, and it required a lot of work. So what we're proposing is a $2 fee on 4th of July, which will bring in about $5,000. Same fee on Friday night fireworks nights, which will bring in about $16,000. Total income will be $21,000. And the expense for the 2 cashiers, which will be wearing their ID, will be supervised by their supervisor, and will be in the booth. The expense is $288 for all the fireworks nights. So we have a net gain of $20,000. Now, I wanted to raise this for the full commission's consideration because I'm very anxious to break even once again because we've been working very hard to
So
do
let
it.
me just understand if I could. Thank you, Mr. Gioffre. So basically, what I don't understand is well, yes, so first of all, we used to have fireworks Wednesday and Friday nights. Now it's only Friday nights. And you're recommending that we charge $2 after a certain time?
$2, yeah.
After like 6 p.m., I presume, or something like
Yeah.
that? Okay.
And
that would generate, according to you, $16,000.
that would generate $21,000.
No, 5,000 is for July 4th.
Oh, you mean for the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so what I don't understand is why the incremental cost would only be $288.
Well, because the cashiers earn $36.
They're there anyway?
Well, no, they would, under the current policy, they wouldn't be there.
They wouldn't be there.
No, but don't you have to have them there if you're charging $2?
Well,
Yes.
yeah, that's
So
where the
And
extra.
that's what the cost is.
That's the salary for those 2 evenings.
Yeah. It's,
Wait, sorry. But we're talking several evenings, correct?
yeah, eight nights
Right,
and 4th of July.
right. So let's just take the 8 nights to start off with. 8 nights is only $288 for those?
$2, 2 hours times the average compensation, about $9.
All right, well, okay, that's pretty compelling. So $16,000 versus $288 in cost. And so,
Even if we had our high-price cashiers, our $10 cashiers there, we're
okay,
not talking a lot.
so those numbers are correct.
Pretty close.
Yeah,
And then how would it work on 4th of July?
same way.
So people come in after 6 o'clock?
Yes.
7 p.m., is it 7 p.m.?
After 7.
So we're talking on Friday nights after 7 and on 4th of July after 7.
Right.
Well, look, I mean, I think that, okay, so I understand that proposal. Let me bring it up a little bit later. I know you have to run. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about? Because there are a couple things I want to,
Well,
in your report, I want to discuss.
The only other thing is that the community conversations, it was discussed about bringing in security for 2 hours after midnight, from 12 to 2. And I was asked to work out the cost of that. So it's approximately $33 per night for two security for 2 hours. So if we do that 4 days a week, 5 days a week, yeah, it's $11 for the bishop,
Yeah, and, well, okay.
and then it's time and a half because it's after midnight.
So I don't recall that the discussion about adding security came up at the community conversation. I think we had a conversation, somebody said that they'd heard kids in the park after hours. And I said, you should really call the police, and we'll remind the police that it's that season when kids are spending more time outside and looking for a place to go.
Yeah, I think there's a whole host of issues that were brought up at the community conversations, and I think they were only no minutes of that meeting were only sent out very lately in
Right.
the day today. So, I mean, I'm certainly happy to take up any issues that the board wants to take up or, that staff wants to take up. But with the proviso, we haven't had a chance to look at any of this. Anyway, I hear what you're saying. It'll cost $33 a night, so thank you for that information. And so Fred, did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay, I want, and again, if you need to leave, I know you have a dinner tonight, so if you need to leave, go ahead. And I think there's a couple issues Bill's was going to pick up on. I also want to pick up on the Wi-Fi, and I want to pick up on the FEMA costs for the seawall, because I don't think we budgeted for those at all, have we? No. So those are incremental costs that if you see in the report right here, it looks like we're going to be on the hook for the 10%, which blows the whole budget apart, the capital expenditure budget, if Rice City's 52 and we're 78. Are those numbers correct, Bishop?
Well, they're estimates. I mean, right now, if we get the mitigation aspects approved, we're at $1.3 million. 90% of that would be covered. Would be roughly $130,000.
Thanks very much, Fred. Thank you. Thank you.
Out of pocket. However, New York State has, it appears, has money left over and has indicated that they might cover the entire amount. We just don't have anything in writing, no hard commitments that in fact
All right,
will
so
happen.
when will we get definition on this?
We're still trying to resolve our historic restoration authorization with the State Historic Preservation Organization. Once we get that, then we go to what I would call final drawings, and at that particular point, we'd have something for FEMA to look at.
All right, so this is, I would just.
This is a work in progress.
I'll make a note to the file on this one that there may be additional costs. And, but if we can, Bishop, we can try and come up with a timeline we expect.
Right. There will be additional costs in one respect, and that is that somebody's going to have to lay out the money, and there will probably be either interest costs or what have you that relates to it. You're talking about reimbursement of these funds, but our history with reimbursement, sometimes it's 6 to 8 weeks, other times it's 6 to 8 months.
All right.
So,
all right, and then we have this Wi-Fi issue. What's happening there?
I'm sorry, which Wi-Fi?
Yeah, please, Bill.
Various
Yep.
problems with Wi-Fi access at the
Oh.
administration building.
Well,
Okay.
there's two sides to this issue. I mean, not two sides, but there's two parts to it. In theory, you ought to be able to get Wi-Fi at the park. We're constantly being bombarded with how wonderful Optima and all of these people are by having Wi-Fi everywhere. But the reception, apparently there's no cell towers anywhere near the park. The closest one is over at the other end of Playland. And so Wi-Fi is very spotty for people to be able to access it, let's say, on their own. Then the other side would be with our internet service at the park. We have a router, and theoretically, that it's a wireless router. You should be able to get reception at least within the building, the administration building. But that apparently is, I'm not that much involved with it, but because I'm not there on a day-to-day basis. But that's what Terry Finelli and Larry Miano, his security office, he's complaining about it. She's complaining about it, that it's very spotty and it makes it difficult to function in terms of accessing the internet.
So, if you know,
Please.
thank you, Mr. Carvin. I understand. To me, it's not Wi-Fi. I think that we have a little bit of a term issue here, semantics. Really, the cellular coverage from the carriers, because as you mentioned, Bill, there are no close towers. The cellular coverage that people use on their phones and their tablets to get internet access is spotty at the park. It's not good, and you're not going to get good internet connection. I don't think that using the existing router that we depend on for our own transactions that are, and Bishop, correct me if I'm wrong, but our credit card transactions get processed through that. I don't think that making that connection available to the public, and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if that's what you're suggesting.
No.
Oh, okay. So our internet connection.
It would only be within.
It's for us.
Yes, for us.
It's for the operations of the park. And who is it that's complaining about the spotty coverage? Is
Well, Terry Finelli, whose office is right across the building from Fred's, and Larry Miano, who's the security, in charge of security, his office is up by the bathroom building.
I just don't
Near
understand
the
what
winter
that they
office.
would need the internet for in the security person specifically, if he's roaming around doing security. I don't know what he would need the internet for. Terry, I mean, obviously she works, you guys work closely together. I'm not really sure what she needs the internet
Well,
for in that office.
he was trying to do some, I guess, things to do with security issues, and he had to come over to Fred's office to be able to get access. There's no Wi-Fi. I'm not sure what. Well, I suppose he could have it used through his own cellular service, maybe somehow. But I'm just passing this along. This is what the complaint is.
We yeah, just so everybody understands, we've hardwired almost all of the computers. They all go to a server that's in Fred's office.
Which goes through a hardwired router,
Right.
which
Exactly.
eliminates the need for wireless access.
Well, we have one little problem, and that is Terry's office was never hardwired. And so she uses Wi-Fi to be able to access the server.
What does she need it for? The reconciliation of the
What
cash
she needs
flow?
to
or
do, yeah, she needs to do the reconciliation. She needs to do the reports off of the server. One of the things we're going to be doing is the solution in this particular case, because they are close, we're going to hardwire
I was
her
about to say, just get
through
a
the
very
building.
long Ethernet cable
Right.
and
That's exactly what we're doing.
Is that costly?
No, that's not costly. That's a relatively easy
It's a
fix.
Radio
Radio
Shack
Shack,
purchase?
20
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
Radio Shack.
All right, so let's, okay.
Before they go out of
We
business.
got a lot
The
of
other
issues.
Wi-Fi issue that we have, though, is the North Beach is still not hardwired. That is so far out there that we do use Wi-Fi for that. And, Commissioner Rosenberg is exactly right. We lock down our Wi-Fi. It is secured. It is not available to the public. It can't be.
No.
Right. Okay, so how do we handle the north booth then?
Well, we're working on it. For example, we purchased a much higher-end router, antenna, if you will, to be able to try and do that. We're also experimenting with relay, a relay antenna on top of
Well, can
the
I'd
first
like to
aid
have,
station.
but I'd like to have a better understanding of the use of the Wi-Fi to communicate with the north entrance, because I would have thought that in the old days you simply reconcile at the end of the day. Does she really need an hourly update, or I mean, what is she using it for
She's
specifically?
using it for credit card transactions,
Well,
right?
credit
Yeah,
card,
but what is,
yeah.
but right, but when you say she's using it,
Every time
Can't-
she swipes a card,
If-
it has to
if-
validate the card.
oh, she can't do that from the northern
No.
booth? Oh, I
Without
see.
the internet access, she
Right,
can't.
that's where we
Oh,
need
I see.
the internet access. So if you showed up at the North booth and you wanted to use your credit card,
You couldn't use it?
yes.
Well, okay.
So that's a work
So
in
we're
progress.
working on it. I
Right.
think we're going to have a solution for it, and our
Good, all
our
right, so
service
that's the second
providers
issue I flagged, and then there's, okay, and then the other big issue here is the ramp. Well, look, there's no way I'm paying $370,670 for a ramp. Bishop, you and I were talking today about other options. You want to share with the board your suggestion? It sounds like it's a far more economical solution.
Well, all right, well, we had looked at it, we had toyed around with the idea of trying to push
Can
the
you talk,
ramp.
can you people hear you just?
Oh,
once
I'm
you're
sorry,
talking?
we had toyed around with pushing the ramp down about 60, 70 feet. If you're familiar with the area where it is now, the topography starts to slope down, where you pick up a few feet in terms of height. You might have less bulk, et cetera, and you would be a little further away from the restaurant. Now, that was one option.
Okay, but just to slow
the
down, so
architect,
just to slow down
okay.
so everybody understands. So basically, you would move the entrance down closer to the lifeguard
Right.
shack,
That's correct.
and there's a mini ramp there that's far less steep.
Well, that's the
And so
second
the-
option.
Oh, I thought that's the option.
Yeah, that's the ramp that's already existing, right?
Yeah.
next to the
There is
lifeguard
an
shack.
existing ramp down by the lifeguard station. It is very shallow in terms of its pitch. It requires very little work, and all we would have to do is we would have to either move the existing booth or put a new booth there, and we're more or less compliant. I think that project can be done for, literally only tens of thousands instead of hundreds of thousands.
So that's one solution. I don't know if there's other solutions out there. I don't think rebetted, I don't think the vendors are going to come up with something substantially different than what we did. I mean, I guess we don't need, again, you could do the existing ramp with Actually, can you, yeah, so I guess you can do the existing ramp, but then with no, sorry, it has to wake me up. So the existing ramp with no improvement in the booth may save you some money. But anyway, I don't know what the board thinks.
You know, obviously, this is a crazy estimate, and I can't help wonder why. You know, how is it that this is going to cost that much? And I wish I had a better understanding of what architecturally is being done and structurally is being done that makes this a $370,000 repair. It's just sort of a crazy number. And I know you feel that way too.
Yes.
I know you do. So I'm not saying anything.
The two bids came in at what exactly?
We had 3 bids came in, and hang on a second, I'll tell you exactly what they were. Right here. They're in your packet. You'll have a little email from Lauren Martino there. We have $364,300, $356,670, and $417,360. All 3 of those bidders are out of New York metro area. All 3 of them are union contractors. All 3 of them are using prevailing wage. I think the design that's here is a little bit on the gold-plated side. It's beautiful, and it'll probably last 100 years. But these prices are just absurd. They're totally absurd. One of the things that we did notice that we had 7 contractors show up. The 2 local contractors that were there, by local I'm talking about Westchester contractors, neither one of them bid. So the thought process is Lisa Easton is going to go back and see if they would consider submitting bids.
Do we ever get a detailed breakdown on why these things were so expensive?
Yeah, if you go back a little bit further in that same packet, I call your attention to this particular page, which is breakdowns provided by one of these guys. And you can see some of the things there. Disassemble and salvage the masonry wall for reassembly. And then down below, reassemble masonry wall. Between those 2 items is $35,000. The masonry wall they're talking about is the masonry wall that is between the steps and the current ramp. There's a wall there. So when they demolished the ramp, their concern was that they would have to rebuild that wall if we wanted to keep the steps. So there's a lot of...
Right, so the bottom line is we're not going to...
No.
Any thoughts from the board?
I mean, we talked about this kind of informally, whether or not
Yeah.
the RIDE DPW could do some
Oh, yeah,
repairs
you're
there.
going to talk to them. Did you have a chance to talk to them?
I have not really had a chance to explore that. I did mention didn't I?
You mentioned it to me.
Yeah, yeah, but we haven't gotten anywhere with, I mean, the problem with having RIDE DPW right now is that we have quite a few infrastructure projects in the community and
Right.
road repair and things like that. So it's not our willingness, I think it's just really our ability at this point, but we can certainly explore that. I am concerned about moving the entrance, and I'm just concerned about moving the entrance because the park management is gonna hear a lot of complaints if you make people move that much further down the walkway to enter the beach. But that certainly is a better proposal than spending almost $400,000
Let me
to
ask you
fix
this
the
question.
ramp.
There are stairs at the current location. If we blocked off the ramp and then effectively had 2 entry points, I guess that would, you'd have an extra cashier you'd have to put in place, right?
Well,
An extra
not
cashier's booth.
necessarily, but that's possible, and
Because
certainly...
because in other words, if people needed the ramp to access the beach, you'd have to keep, in other words, so my suggestion would be use the stairs for the first entrance, because most people use the stairs. If you have a baby carriage or you have a need to use the ramp, you could use that second entrance closer to the lifeguard hut. I don't know what work would need to be done to do that. Maybe they'd have to pay, we could maybe get them to pay there, and then if they use the ramp, that's why if you avoid using this. But I'm very concerned about getting something done for the summer. I really don't want people sliding down that ramp if we can avoid it.
Bishop, what would it cost? I mean, what about keeping, as Mr. Carvin has mentioned, Supervisor mentioned, we keep the stairs open with the booth there. If somebody purchases a ticket and wants to wheel their stuff down a ramp, they walk over to the existing ramp by the lifeguard shack. We have somebody there collecting tickets.
No,
But
they
only
don't
for-
need tickets. They
the
already,
band, yeah.
they
Oh,
get a
have-
wristband.
They show their band.
Yeah.
So basically, you don't even need a ticket booth. The tickets will be purchased.
No,
where
you
they're-
just need a security guard there.
You just need
Yeah.
a security guard there, and the tickets, the bands would be purchased exactly where they are today.
Yeah.
And if people don't want to use the stairs and they want to go down the ramp, let them go down the existing ramp.
Is that existing ramp usable now?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
there's no need to
We
change
have,
it?
technically, we have 2 ramps that are usable.
Well, no, forget technically. Can you use the second ramp today?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And
And
it's-
then without,
is
it's
it
not,
ADA compliant?
It's close. It's very close. I haven't measured it, to be honest with you. Does it meet the strictest definition
can we,
of
why don't we,
ADA? No.
why don't we,
Is it 10 times safer than the existing ramp? Yes.
okay, can you find out what it would take
Yes.
to make it ADA compliant?
Okay.
And I think that sounds like the solution for this summer.
Or at the very least, and what it would cost or operationally what it would do if we just needed to put a security guard there checking wristbands.
Basically, I think you could work in a way it's almost no cost, because the security guards are circling there.
Well, they're there already.
Yeah.
So would it impede Fred's operation to keep one security guard there? And obviously, they would rotate amongst themselves of who would be sitting there all day.
Well, you have to understand what the security guards are doing. They're there primarily to screen for glassware going onto the beach, alcohol going onto the beach, et cetera. That's what they're there for. They really can't rotate. Once the beach is open.
No, what I mean is that
That's-
you're not going to have the
that's a
same
position.
person. You're not going to have the same person sitting there all day at the
Oh,
ramp.
no. It's
That's
2
what I
hours
mean.
at a clip.
Exactly.
You know, that
exactly.
kind of thing.
Good. All right, so you want to see how
Yeah.
work. Bill, do you have any
I
thoughts
will-
on that solution?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a great idea. I don't know if there's any legalities as to if you consciously choose to use something that's not ADA compliant.
Well,
That would be something for our
Quite
attorneys to
frankly,
tell
it's
you.
more ADA
But-
compliant than
Yeah,
the one we
But
have.
I personally think, and the other plus, as a person who lives up closer to the north end than the middle, that anybody who comes in on the days when the North Beach access is not open, it's a lot shorter to go.
Well, they're going to still have to
Yes.
pay
Yeah,
at the.
well, that's true. They would.
the-
Well, not everybody would have to go down there, though. They could somebody could go down, pay, and come back, and then so many people have these big carts with all kinds of
Yeah.
gear.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking. It's 98% of the people who need the ramp are really not handicapped. They just have all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so this would be a huge improvement. From
I
that
would-
point of view, I can't tell you how many times
Yep.
people were there struggling, and the guards are pretty good about going down and helping them. But still, this would be a big
Good.
improvement.
Excellent.
So I just want to make sure I understand what this proposed solution is. So in other words, when you come in the middle gate, we're going to say, use the stairs from now on, don't use the ramp. And if you need to use the ramp, you go to the north gate.
No.
No,
There's
What
a,
are we saying?
so so you have the existing primary entrance,
Yep.
which has stairs and a ramp,
Yep.
which we're going to not let anybody on that ramp.
Oh,
That
that's
ramp's
what
gonna
I
be
said,
closed
yeah.
down. So that ramp's closed down.
Okay,
But there's a small ramp right next to the lifeguard shack. It's
Okay.
not the north gate.
okay,
It's a ramp, it's an entrance we never used before.
okay,
So that so you'll pay for you'll get your band.
okay.
If you want to walk down the stairs, you can go down the
Okay,
stairs.
because that ramp is much safer. is what
Yes.
you're
It's a
saying.
much
Yes.
Okay.
it's
less
a-
Much
steep
more
ramp.
gradual.
Yeah.
But the main entrance, we're saying you can't use that ramp anymore.
Exactly.
Okay,
Correct.
Yeah.
fine with me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds fine.
All right, we'll
Good.
try and put something like that together.
Perfect.
And so beyond that, and I think that works for this year,
Yeah.
because, the truth of the matter is, it's been this way since the beginning of time.
Yes.
Sure.
And, in 2015, we finally woke up one day and
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
we need to make the ramp safer. And, but I think beyond this year, if we truly want to do something bigger and better, we need to revisit the design. And we either need to have the architect who did this one or a different architect who is maybe more adept at doing very cost-efficient design. I mean, it's really just about pouring concrete,
Yeah.
right?
More or
So
less.
it shouldn't be $400,000 to pour concrete.
No, exactly.
So I think what we really need to do is have the design revisited.
Yeah.
And we need to tell the architect that we use, look, can you please just design something that's going to cost $75,000? We don't want the $400,000 option. So that would
Yeah.
be my 2 cents for beyond this.
I think that's absolutely correct. And maybe, yeah. And maybe you can check with your DPW.
Yeah, we can
with
see.
Sufficient
they
time,
have
maybe they
time.
can get it, they take a look at it.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly
I mean,
repave
even,
roads.
even for
but I
this
don't
year,
know
if there's just a, if there's just a,
Ramps.
We contract out things like, fixing the steps to City Hall. We don't do
well, you can
masonry
take a
work.
look at it, because it's a, it's a very,
I will refer the question to the city engineer. He's
Yeah.
down there right now.
oh, good.
With, with the
Perfect.
drainage.
Okay, great. That's the, so, Mr. Bill, Mr. Lawyer, did you have any other agenda items from the monthly report?
Well,
Anything else you want?
I see there's another item on the agenda about the pond water sample results. Could we cover that now, or you want to wait and do
You
that?
can cover it now. Let's get through your report now.
Yeah.
Get Mr. Ford,
No, I want to get through Mr.
Okay.
Lawyer's report, then we'll
Okay.
comments from the public, then we'll get Mr. Ford up, if that's okay.
Okay, so every year since we started the contracts with Pond Lake Connection to do the water quality services for the pond, we've had samples taken, and we always want to see how we're doing from year to year, and also how we're doing in relation to what the parameters of a safe body of water are. And so the numbers have always been in the generally acceptable range. The high ones that we have any control over are the nutrients, because that's basically the quality of the water as it goes into the sound. We have this big problem in Long Island Sound of eutrophication, where the algae blooms because of all the nutrients in the water, and then after the algae bloom, they die off, and it depletes the oxygen drastically, especially in a hot summer, so that much of Long Island Sound is basically dead as far as the marine life in it during that time. So the mission and goal of the pond was to take out the nitrogen from the water before it goes on into the sound. And so when you look at the results of those numbers, you have to do two things. You see the actual results from the testing from this past, I think they did it at the end of April. Then you have to look at this other chart, which discusses what the parameters are. And so it's basically the bottom line is that the nutrient levels are higher than you'd like them to
So,
be.
but do we have an action, or are you just keeping us informed?
I'd say at this point, I'm not proposing any action, but the numbers, it would be better if we were absorbing more of that of those nutrients on the side of the pond. And I think this ties in, although people may not believe it, but I think there's a definite connection between the fact that we have such a custom of feeding the ducks. And, this is something, in my experience as the director of a nature center for years,
Okay,
I
so
would
I-
find these places where they were
Right.
feeding the ducks, and it was causing problems
Okay,
for the pond.
so you flagged the issue. Would you work with the Friends to come up with a solution?
Well, they have a solution, which is to crack corn. Well,
What? Shoot the-
duck soup, but
Well, you and I are thinking the same way.
but
though.
I think at this point what we're trying to do is to get the feet wet, so to speak, in terms of doing something other than just feeding bagels and bread and all this other stuff to the ducks.
Well, look,
So that, and realistically speaking, this is not a farmer. This is not a barnyard. This is a pond that's providing.
what do you build? Bill,
service.
so what's your proposal?
So that we try this out. Hopefully, we find a child-proof corn dispenser, and see whether or not that makes any difference. So this year we'll
Okay.
be on the lookout. And if it doesn't, then the next step would be saying, okay, it's not enough just to switch to cracked corn. We're going to have to do something else.
Good. All right, so we'll switch to cracked corn.
we
Perfect.
have one other thing to bring to the commission's attention, and that is there are a couple of volunteers that have been working on a plan to relocate the domestic ducks that are there, the white ones, because they're not wild, they're more resident. And our hope is that by the time fall arrives, we will have a new home for them. And then the pond will, in fact, be as designed, just wild ducks that'll be there, which we think will then control the nutrient level a little bit better.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lawyer. Anything else?
I just hope we don't get a save the duck.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
I'm sorry, I missed that last part because I'm looking at the numbers. We're talking about taking the ducks away?
No.
No, yes, well,
Just
yes
the
and
white
no.
ducks.
Just the white ducks. You have a couple of Rye residents that are nature, I don't know what you want to call it, naturalists, et cetera. and they are working on a plan to relocate the domestic ducks, those are the white ones,
Okay, but
and find them
the
a
plan's
home.
not before us this evening, is it?
No, it'll
Okay,
be in the
all
fall.
right, okay, so we will take a look at
They've
it.
been
Right.
Right, it'll be after your term ends.
Thank you,
to-
very good. I don't want a white duck, I don't want any.
We're going to
White
relocate them
ducky.
to Rye City Hall.
Exactly.
We don't have a pond there. I don't think
All
we can do
right,
it.
we do have this, so we have this proposal then on the fireworks nights. I do think it's worth trying to capture $20,000 relatively easily. We're only going to be charging for fireworks nights one night rather than two nights. I would certainly, I like this proposal from staff. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks.
You know, I'm resistant to it. I just think we took this away a few years ago, in large part because there were complaints from people that we were charging $2. You know, any change, I think, needs to be considered pretty carefully because I think consistent pricing and consistent policies benefit everyone and enhance the kind of the people's confidence in the management of the park. So, you know, I'm reluctant to just decide to do this because we've got what we perceive will be a $20,000 revenue shortfall because there won't be
but-
fireworks
sure.
on Wednesdays anymore. So, you know, I think we can wait and see whether or not we really do see a significant revenue shortfall. It may be that we have lower expenses on those nights, therefore we end up not seeing quite the same shortfall. And as I recall, when we did charge for entry on fireworks night, the time was different, that we actually changed the timing of when we stopped charging in large part because we weren't charging just for evenings anymore. So I think it used to be 6 o'clock and now it's 7 o'clock. So I think we're capturing some of that revenue anyway, just by virtue of the fact that we're charging until 7 p.m. I just think I just think that this is something we can consider in the future. I think it's premature to consider it now.
I would tend to agree with Laura Jo. I also think that, you know, part of the reason why people didn't like it in the first place was, you know, it was kind of like this, you know, hand-to-hand transaction in the dark where you didn't know who you were dealing with, and you kind of, you know, you were walking up to the gate and all of a sudden someone said, "Give me money," and it kind of put a sour feeling on the whole, you know, the whole process of coming to the beach and looking at the fireworks with your family and your kids. So, you know, for that reason, amongst all the other reasons, I think that, you know, just looking to fill a perceived hole in the budget is not a good reason to do this because we wouldn't be doing it otherwise.
We talked about a $2 surcharge a couple of meetings ago, and we decided at that point in time that we didn't think it was a good idea. And I agree that at this point in time, I think it's something good to talk about, but to have this sprung on us and, you know, it just doesn't feel like the right thing to do to me.
Well, look, obviously, the votes aren't here for it, but I did want to go on the record, actually, as saying, first of all, I think we only changed it last year. So the consistent practice was to charge. Last year, we decided not to charge, that is my recollection. But the second thing is, I'm not worried about the shortfall. I'm worried about our capital expenditures. And quite frankly, we can't support the necessary capital expenditures for the park. And if we have relatively easy $20,000 windfall, you know, because we're charging just Friday night, so we're sort of halfway where, in other words, it's a compromise solution from the change from last year. So you're just charging the Friday nights. You know, certainly I want to go on record and say I think it makes sense. I think, you know, $20,000 for relatively little incremental pain. It's $2, right? I guess the other point I'd make is, again, look, I don't know what records we have, but certainly I still think park usage is 80% non-resident. And so we're really talking about non-residents, charging them $2, pulling in another $20,000 to fund the capital expenditures. So I kind of think it makes sense. Obviously, if we don't have the votes, it doesn't make a difference.
You know, I'm not sure if we did this 2 years ago or a year ago, but I will say that we did change this policy. We developed consensus on the board, and I think it's the third time the staff has asked us to reconsider. So, I feel a little like the board made a decision, and we made a decision for what I thought were pretty valid reasons, and we've been asked to reconsider it 3 times. So I was a little you know, I was a little frustrated to get this at, 4:30 before the meeting and be expected to kind of come here again to defend the change that we all agreed on. I think it was unanimous to
I don't know
change
if I
it
was
back.
at that meeting, but if I did,
No, Joe, you were. I mean, we can
Okay.
go to the videotape. This is a consensus decision, and I think that you say it's $2, but it's $2, and you might have a large group. So some family might be prevented from getting on the beach to see the fireworks because they don't want to pay $10, or they don't want to pay $15, $16, or however many people that they have with them. And I'm not completely convinced that this sort of back of the envelope 2 cashiers times 8 is all the staff that's going to be needed for this. And and I am concerned about people being asked for money in the dark. And it's cash transaction, and that feels that does undermine people's confidence in the park. I think that's something we really should be serious about and take pretty seriously.
Well, I in terms of remembering last year, I certainly don't remember voting against it, so I'm perfectly prepared to concede that I supported this proposition last year. In light of our capital expenditure needs and our very tight capital expenditure budget, not the shortfall, for me it's the capital expenditure. And I think that we basically need to think of ways to, fulfill that budget. So I certainly would reverse whatever decision I made last year. And again, I have to apologize. I wasn't here on the March meeting, so if this was brought up at the March meeting, and discussed. So this is the first time I've discussed it this year. I didn't ask you for it, so I understand your frustration if the board's taken it and considered it and already turned it down. In any case, look, so I think if we were to take a vote, it'd be 3-1. So I'm prepared to concede that for this year we'll leave it as is. But I do think we should, if we go into deficit as we're pressed for capital expenditures, I think that, we need to be conscious of this. I think we're likely to have to come up with some monies for the seawall. So I'm just concerned that we're going to have a shortfall this year on capital expenditures.
Right. So I agree with you that we need to figure out a way to fund capital expenditures. And, I know that the City of Rye budget capital always budgets for a shortfall. In 2014, we didn't have a shortfall. I think that money should be used for capital expenditures. I don't know what the Rye town budget does with that, with whether or not you budget for for funding operations at the park, and maybe if both budgets or both of us commit to using the money that we had set aside for capital expenditures to be, or for operations to be used for capital expenditures, that will certainly fill a hole this year. But I think that's responsible. That's what we should be doing for this park, is when we have a budget that comes in with zero due and owing from either community, we should be using what was budgeted for it for capital expenditures.
Well, right. Look, I mean, we don't need to beat a dead horse, but obviously this makes it less likely you're going to not have a shortfall. And the monies that, even if there is zero, if we are able to break even, again, I think Mr. Gioffre is wrong. I think we've broken even pretty much the last 2 or 3 years. But even if you break even, you're still you only allocate $45,000. What's your cap? $50,000 in capital expenditures. So it doesn't solve our capital expenditure problem. Now, $20,000 isn't going to solve it either.
No, it's not.
And so look, I think I think we can congenially agree to disagree. I think there's a clear consensus on the board, and we won't bring it up again this year. We'll just watch it. Okay. Okay, let's get back to the approval of the minutes of the March 17th meeting. Any questions on the minutes of the March 17th
I
meeting?
just wanted to highlight the changes that were asked for, so that
Have been incorporated?
Yes,
Yep.
that's why we brought them in.
Okay. I don't know if you had a chance to review those changes, the people that made them. And if everybody's happy with the changes we're making, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the March 17th meeting as amended?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And the April 21st meeting?
Yep.
Any questions, comments on the April 21st minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
I get a second?
Second.
And actually, you know what, I think I forgot to call the roll, Mr. Nowak. I hope for the people
We-
at home, it's still an official meeting.
Yes, it's still an official meeting.
Okay. We'll just call the roll for the record.
Sure, sure. Commissioner Brett,
Here.
Commissioner Rosenberg.
Here.
Commissioner Sach.
Here.
Commissioner Carvin.
Here. Okay, great. Comments from the public?
I thought we were going to do solar panels.
Oh, well, you okay, George? We're going to do comments from the public first, Goldie.
Oh, okay, I would have liked to hear before. I'd just like to tell you that Oakland Beach is the best beach in the whole area. In the whole area, that's it. I've been in Playland, I've been all over, and Oakland Beach is it. When I'm under the pavilion and for the concerts, thank God for Billy. He allows me to hand out all the programs and everything. When I'm there and I look and I see the moon coming up and I see all the colors there and the ships and everything, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. I can tell you right now. The only thing I'm worried about is I don't know whether, and I asked Fred Gioffre when he was here, but he didn't tell me the whole thing. There was a sign on the pavilion outside where the parking lot is that said no dogs allowed. I'm wondering if that sign came down and if people are allowed to bring their dogs in, because they've been bringing them in, and some of them have been leashed, some have not been leashed. They crap all over the place on the bushes and the trees and everything else. And I wasn't happy with that, so I don't know whether the sign came down or not. The only other thing I'm really worried about, as a nurse, as somebody in the medical profession, is alcohol and drugs allowed on the beach or at Oakland Beach? Seaside Johnny's sells alcohol. I don't know whether they allow it to go on the beach, but we should not allow alcohol and drugs to go on the beach. That will create a lot of problems.
Well, first,
So could you look into that for
Yep.
me?
Yep.
That's all I want you to do. Look into the things that I'm telling you. But thank God for Rye-Town and Oakland Beach.
Well, listen, I just like to say thank God for Goldie Solomon.
No,
I understand today's a big day today, Goldie. Is that correct?
yeah, well,
It's your birthday. Is that correct? It's your birthday today,
that's
Goldie?
no good when you get older. Let me tell you something. I'd rather it went the other way and I got younger.
When you
know,
find that magic potion.
But there's 4 of us that have that birthday
Is that right?
today. Yeah.
Who else?
Well, Carolee Breakwood is Danny Breakwood, and he's a trustee with the
Yep. And Carolee's
with
got a
Village
president of the school
Portchester.
board.
She is the president of the
School board.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Peter Mutino was a teacher up there. He's also
Formerly of the school board as
and
well.
Chrissy Colangelo, that's John Colangelo's daughter, Beadle, is her last name. All 4 of us have
Wow.
our birthday today.
It's a special day. We should, I don't know, if I was the mayor of Portchester, I'd make May 19th Portchester Day.
Well, it's everything. Look what's going on. Oh my God.
Yeah.
This morning I was someplace else. Now I'm here, and the band is going. I said, "Holy mackerel!" We had a budget hearing this morning, and we voted on the budget. I went there at 7:00 in the morning, did my votes, got out. I've been busy all day long. My kids are having a fit. Ma, it's your birthday. We should be doing something. I said, but Randy's birthday is the 22nd. And then I got a message saying, okay, Ma, on Thursday,
There you go.
I'll take you and Randy for supper someplace.
Beautiful.
I said, okay, fine. That's it.
Enjoy your birthday, Goldie.
Okay,
Thanks so much.
I'll see you later.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Other comments from the public, please? Yep, Linda?
Hi, Linda Wells, Friends of Rye-Town Park. Just a few things. We're going to be doing a temporary planting at the corner of Dearborn and Forest to replace the nightmare that was there and didn't survive. So if you see a little activity in the next couple of weeks, that's what that will be. And
What's that, Linda?
the corner of Dearborn and
Yeah.
Forest Avenues, last year around this time, there was a planting put in,
Okay.
and it just wasn't right for the location.
Okay.
So there's now crabgrass there, and that will be replaced with some kind of a planting.
Okay.
Long-term, we'll do something more permanent. This year, we'll just do summer flowers. I'd like to ask the commission again for permission to have about 4 parking passes issued that I created actually by computer, I think it was last year, to enable outside vendors and independent contractors that we work with to come into the park, to look at the site or meet with us to talk about things without having to stop to pay or worry about a permit. Any issue with that?
I don't
Fine with me.
think. but
Landscape
can you-
architect,
can you-
for
but can
example,
you
that
make-
wants to work
What we
with us
need to
on-
make absolutely clear is that we know, Bill and everybody should know exactly who the 4 are. Make sure it's not abused in any way.
I assure you it will not be.
Right,
I mean,
but-
we could number them and have Fred sign them, and then as we meet with somebody, we could make it available to them.
I certainly don't have a
Because
problem
we've-
with it.
So these are to be used interchangeably for whoever you're meeting with on a particular day, you give them the pass?
Yeah.
So really, do you need more than one pass?
No.
Okay.
Well,
2.
yes, because other board members meet with other people. I'm not, it doesn't all go through one person.
Oh, they're for
So-
board members?
Yes, for the Friends board members, so that if a landscaper is coming in, which they will be coming, we're getting bids from other landscapers to contract for the park to do our work for us. So they may or may not be accompanied by a board member at that particular time. They may go down before hours or something like that, or at 9 o'clock. And rather than get stuck at a parking booth, if they have this pass that has our logo on it and the town's logo on it and Fred's signature, it will be legitimized.
Okay, I mean, I just want to make sure that it's a legitimate thing that can't be readily reproduced and used and.
Sure it could. I could print thousands from my computer, but I
mean,
won't.
Or a way to do it would just be, if you know you're meeting with somebody, just email Fred that day and say.
Fred's
when he-
not always on
or
site
whoever
at the
it is,
time the person's going to be there.
Or Bill,
so
or whoever, or Terry, these people are coming today, let them through.
They're not always there when these people are coming to the park. The park staff is not always there at that time.
Well, I think.
This could be before, slightly before hours.
Yeah,
of-
I think.
It's really,
I think no one here has a problem with what you've described. We just want to be rigorous in the execution, given what's happened in the past. So,
Right.
Okay.
And that's where I'm coming from too.
Yeah,
I-
exactly.
we did this once before, and it was terrific. We had somebody coming in to check on the bluebird situation, and she came at odd hours. So it isn't fair to ask somebody who's volunteering their time to do
Do you know
something
who
for
the
the
4
park.
board members are that we working with them?
Maybe.
Because I mean,
It
if you
can
know
shift.
that I
Somebody
don't.
who works on
If you're,
landscaping.
I think clearly the board members are not going to skive anyway. So I think if you make Bill or Fred and say they're with me for this specific purpose, I guess I'm very happy for you to work very closely with Bill and Fred.
Okay.
To make it work, and I don't think there's any
Okay.
problem there.
I think that's right.
Sure, or maybe just have the names of the board members in the booth, and if they ever come through, and they say to the person in the booth,
I'm here.
So-and-so, they just look at the list of 4 names and just say, oh, okay, go ahead.
It's not so much the board members, it's the landscapers that are coming in, or a landscape architect that's
Right,
coming in, or
and I
whatever.
assume that the board member will get there first or contemporaneous.
Maybe.
And just say, the person behind me. is
Sometimes
coming
they
in
go
too."
on their own time, though, see.
Well, Laura,
So,
I'm very
it's-
confident you can design
it's-
a system that'll work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
So I'm
you.
in favor of the concept, I just want to make sure that it's done.
Doesn't get abused.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you. On the subject of new benches, we are shooting to have those installed in the next, let's say, 10 days, thereabouts. Our hope is to have a coffee reception on June 6th from 10 to 12 to invite donors who have contributed towards the campaign so far, and all commissioners are welcome to join us, and as our park staff. And it's just a simple thing to thank them and show the benches in place and just start a little public interest in the program.
June 6th at what time?
10 o'clock in the morning.
Great.
And then curiously, I received an email through our website from someone on staff at Westchester Magazine who asked for photographs of the park for a July issue that's coming out. And so obviously I investigated a little more, And apparently, a DJ by the name of Jimmy Fink, I apologize for not knowing him. He's on 107.1 FM. He lives in Eastchester. And they're doing an article about him, and in the process of interviewing him, asked him where his favorite places were in Westchester, and Rytown Park was on the list.
Wow.
So with your permission, we have some beautiful photographs of this time of year that we can lend to their project. And on the park's behalf, I will try my best on the other side to get some kind of promotion from Jimmy Fink. If we
Great.
can do something like that, I don't know. Maybe have him
Great.
come to an event and be the
Let's
DJ
get Jimmy,
or
yeah, let's get Jimmy in the park.
something like that. Okay, so
in the
I'll
park.
do
A
that.
live show from the park.
Goldie
Yeah.
might have one more, one more event.
And then as an aside to two subjects that were discussed this evening, not to beat the dead horse, but the ramp that you're talking about for potential access or egress is what the vehicles now use to go onto the beach? By the, okay. How would you set up to verify passes at that station?
At the new station?
You just show a card and you get on the
Show
beach?
your
Show your
wristband.
Show your wristband.
So, okay, so just,
So
no, but that's a good question, just to be clear. So you'd still purchase your ticket?
You
at
don't
the
have to,
exi-
if you
at
have
the
a
existing
permit, you
booth?
don't have to purchase a ticket.
Well, you still need to
You
get a
still get a
wristband.
van, okay. That's
And
just
so-
a question I had.
Right, so exactly. So you'd still go to the existing booth, and you could either go down the stairs next to the booth or walk a bit further and go down the ramp.
Got it, okay. And then, in terms of trying to capture revenue on these firework nights, I don't know what the arrangement is with Seaside Johnny's in terms of food distribution, but would there be an opportunity for the park somehow, either through them, through whatever agreement you have, or a special agreement you could create, you could sell hot dogs at discounted prices, or you could sell things on the beach to the visiting public who are there just to see fireworks, hopefully with their cleaning up after the fact, but I don't know. That's just something that came to mind as you were talking about.
It's actually
The
not a bad
situation.
idea. I think our contract is not 1,000% clear on that, but ultimately, the practice, as I understand, has been to allow Seaside Johnny to, in the past at least, if something like that were going to occur, he would have the right to do that. Now,
Right.
we're going to be negotiating the contract next year, so I think that's a good idea as we think about how we're going to do the contract next year, to think about when we structure the contract, whether you carve that out as a separate opportunity for making money, or you keep it as is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, that's it.
Thanks very much, Linda. Other questions, comments from the public? Yep, Russ?
Hi, everybody. Just real quick, I just wanted to say for the record, I wanted to particularly thank Councilwoman Brett, Mayor Rosenberg, and Supervisor Carvin for coming down to the community meeting. I think it was, despite inclement weather and despite low attendance, I thought the whole thing was very, very positive, and we got a lot of good input and feedback from the community, and a lot of good ideas and suggestions. So I really want to thank you for taking the time to come down and sharing that with us.
Thank you.
And there were just two other small things we had talked about. Maybe I saw there's a lot of activity with this storm drain remediation project. Okay, it looks great. We got all sorts of building materials have been delivered. I just want to know if somebody could update us on that when I'll sit down. And the other thing is, one of the takeaways from the community meeting was we brought it to your attention that there's this sort of shuttle service going on between Seaside John. I just wanted to remind you, and hope you had a chance to look into it. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bishop, you want to report on the the drains?
Well, I don't have enough information to report on it, so.
Okay.
I've inquired of our city engineer, and I think it's progressing. I don't know when the completion date will be, but it's moving along. I think there was some question raised as to the safety, and I think they shored up whatever the safety measures were and took care of that right away. I did hear the community conversations was a success. When it was scheduled, I indicated that I could not be there on that day, and it was scheduled anyway. So I think the consensus was that was when the most people could be there. But I can get a more detailed update on the drainage. I was hoping to have it tonight, but I didn't get a chance to speak to Mr. Coyne before the meeting.
The Seaside Johnny's taxi thing, I thought we had well, informally, we had walked, when we were walking around looking at the ramps, I think, you know, at least the three of us thought that it was not a good idea. And I certainly don't recall it being in their lease that they're entitled to do that, to drive through the park.
Yeah,
Bringing people from one restaurant to the other.
No, it definitely is not in the licensing agreement.
So,
We will,
well, hold on. Well, if we want to have the discussion tonight, we can have the discussion tonight. I think the concern was well, there were two sets or maybe three sets of concerns. One was that they're driving too fast, and it presented a safety risk. Second was that they get back past midnight, and if they get back past midnight, then the cars were trapped, and some people would take a dangerous a chance. So that was the second concern. Now, I personally, I wouldn't want to prevent him. You know, we want to encourage neighborly relations in a way that are safe and sound. And so I wouldn't want to simply just say, I just think it's too easy to prohibit him.
he should have asked us for permission.
Well, I don't, in all honesty, I don't, permission for certain things like storage and those kind of things, which we've rectified in the past, I completely agree with. Permission to drive people from with his own golf cart from his restaurant to another restaurant, to enhance his business. I don't, as long as he drives safe, as long as he gets back for 12 o'clock, as long as he respects the safety concerns, I don't have as much of a problem with. I don't, again, these are, any contract you go into, you can't envision every potential scenario, so.
Well, I agree, but that's why there should have been some communication and at least some discussion, even if it wasn't a discussion, him giving us the heads up that, hey, I'm going to be transporting people from one of my properties to the other property, would have been the neighborly thing to do.
Well, okay, so I mean, before we make a definitive statement, say, no, you can't do it, I'd like to explore the possibility that he do it in a way that's safe and adhere to that.
I mean, so the concern is that he's taking a motorized vehicle on what is essentially a pedestrian pathway, and the only other vehicles that are in the park are used for servicing the park. So this is a very different usage of that pathway than we would otherwise allow. So I mean, so that's the concern, is that you really are letting him shuttle people on a pedestrian pathway. I don't know if he's secured permission from the county to do this either. I mean, it's the same thing with their boardwalk. It's also really for pedestrians and not for motorized vehicles. And
well, our staff use the golf carts on the pedestrian pathway.
But they service the park, right? I mean, they're
well, yeah, but I mean, I guess there's 2 points though. Is it unsafe for him to use it, right? In other words, at the end of the day, the gentleman's trying to make a profit in his businesses. And I completely agree. If he disrupts park operations, if he puts any pedestrian at risk, I completely agree, bring it to a halt. And again, there are two sets of risks we discussed. But I'd like to give the guy a chance to tell his staff, don't put people at risk. If you're going to transport people, do it in a way that's safe and does not cause concern.
So you're okay with using a golf cart to move people from one location to the other?
Yeah, but in all honesty, I don't understand. Assuming it's safe.
See, I actually don't even think it's for that purpose. I think, who is going to go to Tiki Bar and then say, gee, I have an idea. Let me hop in a golf cart and go a half mile down the path and go to Seaside Drive. It's really so he can shuttle groceries or supplies.
No, that's, excuse me, if
No,
I could interject.
We saw it when we were there, and
Yeah.
he's got a big thing on it that says, what does it say, Tiki
Tiki
Mobile?
Zine.
Tiki Zine?
Tiki Zine, right.
And it's not the type of a golf cart, Joe, that you would throw stuff on,
It's got 3 bench
it's got
seats.
It's a longer than normal, it's like a stretch.
It's a Suburban.
It's a pub crawl.
Yes.
Okay.
It's being used for the express purpose of moving people between the two facilities. All right, for convenience, whether they don't have tables at one place and the other, or people that have, having drinks at the Tiki Bar and maybe want to have dinner at Seaside Johnny's, he's moving them back and forth.
So people who paid for parking at Playland are now going to come and...
Could be.
And,
I don't know.
and vice versa.
But
Vice versa.
the other thing, a casual observation just this past Sunday was that the gentleman who was driving this 3-bench seat electric vehicle was being very responsible. I have nothing bad to say about it. However, it got to a point where a couple pushing a stroller had to actually go off the path onto the grass so that he could pass. Again, it was not threatening. I didn't sense any danger, but the pedestrians had to yield to the vehicle. And I thought there was something not quite right about that.
I have no problem
In
with
the
the guy
park.
trying to make a living and enhance his business. I just think there needs to be better communication amongst the.
Well, at a minimum,
we as a landlord, for somebody that we're leasing space out and have a written lease.
well,
that's just my.
well, before we prohibit him from doing it, I would like to, give him the chance to come here and talk to the commission and say, communicate in a way that makes sense. I don't. I always remember Catherine Parker when we presented it to the city of Rye and said, we were, the least friendly.
The least fun park in America.
Least fun park in America. Now, I just want to overreach, and for me, at least until the guy has a chance to, put forward his view. Again, what should happen? The cart should have clear instructions. The cart should go off the path. Let the people with the stroller go past, and then come back onto the path. I mean, so I guess I don't want to. I don't like to be draconian if we can avoid it.
I think it's fair to call him in, but
I agree.
I think that there are some real issues here with.
Well, and we don't have to wait till the next meeting. If we want to detach somebody from the board here, I'm happy to empower. A couple of people want to sit down. I'm happy to go sit down. And somebody else from the board wants to sit down with them and say, hey, can you do this in a way that's safe? Your drivers need to clear the path certainly for a woman in a stroller. And, if you can't do it, we're going to be watching you like a hawk, and the next violation, you close down. All right, so I have no problem, and we don't have to wait till the next board meeting. I'm happy to sit down with them with another member from the board and say, hey, look, Johnny, in the past, we've sat down at the beginning of the summer. Most of the issues have sort of been straightened out, and so we the first couple of years we were here, we had to, like the storage, had to straighten things out. I think the last couple of years have been relatively smooth. He's getting ready to, the contract comes up in December anyway, December 2016 anyway. It wouldn't be bad for someone from the board to sit down with him anyway and say, hey, look, in the spirit of good neighbor, want to sit down, you need to straighten this out. I think we're straightening out with the garbage now, right? So that's all straightened out. We sorted that out last summer. I think it's progressive improvement. So I'm more than happy. We don't have to wait till the next meeting. I'm happy to sit down with them, with anybody from the board, and
I nominate Benny.
Yeah.
I'm happy to go with Benny. That's fine.
That's fine. And that's fine. If you want to try and set up a meeting with him and see who else can attend, I will be
Okay.
there if nobody else can.
All right. All right.
I have an open mind about it, but,
Okay.
but.
All right.
And
Johnny, don't make me look bad. Johnny, gotta keep these people safe. Right, sorry.
Jimmy Fink wouldn't
Where's
agree.
the TV camera, right? Yeah, Jimmy Fink would.
He wouldn't agree with Mrs. Parker. That's the least fun park in America, obviously.
All right, so I'll get Commissioner Sonicho and we'll, okay, great. All right, now, we had a whole other host of issues that came up at the meeting, but I would like to take them up, unless there's a specific issue. I apologize, we only got the minutes to the board late tonight. I don't know if anybody from the public, Russ or Linda or even Don, pardon me, 1 second.
That's all right.
From the community conversations or from the board, is there anything specifically wanted to deal with tonight? If not, What I'd like to take them up as a group, they're all sort of on the margins. Do you guys have anything else that you wanted to okay, terrific, thank you. Mr. Servey.
When someone applies for a part-time job to work for the town, who decides on who gets hired?
Mr. Nuan, I think it's Mr. Gioffre,
Well, it's
Mr. Lawyer, and yourself.
management staff that's down at the park.
Yeah, so who's down there? Gioffre, Lawyer, and yourself, correct?
No, Larry Miano, Mark Casada, Terry Finelli.
So you have the department heads, Larry Miano, Terry Finelli, and
Mark
Casada for the lifeguards, working with Mr. Lawyer and Mr. Gioffre,
and
correct?
Sal Valiente for the groundskeeper.
Sal Valiente. And do you get involved at all or not?
Minimal. I mean, we
Right.
do the record keeping for the
But nobody
application.
comes say hire this person, that person.
No,
do you?
I don't interview
So you and I
anybody.
don't get involved in that. So that. So it's park staff basically.
Okay, for the past 4 years, since 2001, I put in an application. And just for a little background, I worked for the town for 12 years. 6 years at Crawford Park and 6 years at Oakland Beach. And I was reading your advertisement in the paper, which states that you're looking for people with experience. And it also states that people that live in the town would get preference to be hired. So I just was wondering why I never even was called in. Now, I've been putting this application in for 4 years. So how do they determine on who gets hired? Because I have a lot of experience with Crawford Park, like I mentioned, and Oakland Beach, and I never, ever once was called in. So I'd like to know what the procedure is, how they determine who's qualified and who's not qualified. How does somebody like myself, that's a resident, and it's advertised in the paper that residents will get preference for 4 years now, I never was called in one time by nobody. So I'd like that question answered.
Just note, you're here as our town attorney. I mean, basically, my understanding is we devolve responsibility to staff. Staff makes a determination who they think is best qualified, and they hire them. There's no political involvement, I can guarantee you that. There's no one's blacklisted, I can guarantee you that. So they'll look at people who were there last summer, who did well. I think they look to rehire some of those people. But, I mean, Mr. Noto, do you want to add anything to that, or is that?
Well, any personnel matters.
Could you just come up?
Matters of personnel should be an executive session, so I don't know
Right.
if this is a specific request, but
Right, so broadly
there's
speaking.
no public
right,
discussion about individual
Right.
employees or potential employees.
Okay.
I mean, I really can't understand why I wasn't even called in. I have 12 years of service. I broke in almost everybody that's working down there now, and I probably can guarantee you that the people that are there right now don't have 12 years and don't have the experience that I have. So I don't understand why I'm not even called in. It's mind-boggling. You're looking for people that have experience, and I doubt if anyone down there that has the experience that I have. So, I mean, that still really doesn't answer my question.
Well, you heard Mr. Noto, Town Attorney Noto, say in terms of specific cases as relates to you, obviously that's not something we can discuss. That's an executive session matter. In terms of the hiring policy of the town, this board's taken the view that we empower town staff to hire people that they think are most qualified for the position. No one on this board, as I know, has recommended anybody to be hired at the Brightown Park. Ever. They have carte blanche to hire who they think is put in place the best team. As you heard from Mr. Nowotnik, Terry Finelli looks to field her team. Larry Miano looks to field his team in security. Sal Valiente, his team on maintenance, and then who am I missing? Oh, Mark Casada on lifeguards.
Well, the
So-
only thing I could say is that I have a very good idea of why I never was called back, because I worked there before, and there was a little misunderstanding, and I don't want to get into that right now, but I have a very good idea of why I wasn't hired, and Bishop has an idea, and you have an idea, and so does the attorney. You know where I'm talking about, right?
I'm not exactly certain.
Oh, you don't know what I'm talking about? Well, maybe sometime we'll get into it. I don't want to waste your time here, but I think I'm getting the raw deal here, I'll tell you the truth. That's how I feel about it. And I'm a resident, a taxpayer and everything else, and I was a good worker. I've broken almost everybody down there on that beach. And just to make one little statement about the duck pond, if you want to get the duck pond cleared and leave it like the one that's on Midland Avenue, you should go out and buy some good aerators, and maybe that'll solve the problem.
Thank you, Mr. Cervi. Any other questions or comments from the public? Please. Should you announce your name and address for the record?
Yeah. Bill Villanova, Port Chester, New York. I just wanted
Deputy
to,
Supervisor.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Supervisor Carvin. The couple quick questions. I just wanted to get an update on where you are with the middle gate. Have you guys made a decision yet where you are at middle gate and ramp?
Well, we talked about that tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you. Also, the security cameras. Have you guys identified anything with the security cameras yet?
I think they're in the capital budget this year, aren't they?
They are in
Yeah.
the capital budget, I believe.
Okay.
We're looking to implement the first half of a security camera proposal.
That's great. And then third, I don't mean to throw all these at you, is I think that we need to, this year, we're at the point where we need to have a plan where we paint the second floor and above of the administration building. It really is atrocious. And to say that, staff can't do it because it's scaffolding, whatever that may be, the board made a very smart decision and invested in the roof so the facility didn't become compromised. But now you got to paint the administration building now. I think it's an investment that needs to be made. It looks horrible.
You talking about inside or outside?
On the outside. I stay in constant contact with Bishop down there, and Bishop will tell you I keep him updated on what I see, and he's doing a good job trying to get that out. But that's important. Also, with regards to the operation of this vehicle between the Tiki Bar and Seaside Johnny's, I think that the conservative decision is to sit down with them right away. The board, has a policy for pretty much everything at the park, and this is outside of his lease. It wasn't part of the original lease, and I think it needs to be addressed. There's a wise man that some of us know, and I know Joe Sach knows him, and unfortunately he passed away, but he used to say to me all the time, he used to say, Billy, as soon as that camel puts his head in the tent, the body is soon to follow. And the truth is, he's put the head in the tent. And I think it's a good thing. Supervisor Carvin, you're right. Have the conversation with him right away. There should be no issue with operating these vehicles, especially something like that. And I'm sure if you put a policy in place, or even maybe the board doesn't want to do that. Maybe the board wants to say, well, listen, we can amend the lease for the next 2 years, and you're going to pay extra for this. But there is an impact. There's an impact of that vehicle moving from the Rye-Town property into the county property. We're not talking about pedestrian traffic. We're talking about a vehicle. There is some kind of an impact. So, I agree that taking the conservative approach is important.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks, Mr. Villanova. Okay, Mr. Ford.
So I'm going to have to excuse myself at this point because I have a planning commission meeting that started at 7.
Geez.
And they just texted me that they will have a quorum problem now.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Now. So
okay.
Anyway, so my
Now,
apologies.
do you have any thoughts on this? Do you know what we're talking about here?
Yeah, I was here for your last presentation. Thank you. I think this is something we should just keep discussing. I don't know that we were.
Oh, we've made a
prepared.
decision already. No,
prepared.
No, I'm saying, but I do think it's important. I really do want to look at this
Right.
from a number of reasons. Give it a serious consideration. So obviously, Mayor Sach will be here.
We're going to put solar panels on the back of the Tiki Mobile?
Well, I think,
That's a good idea.
those reflect, but I do think, you have to leave as well?
I do.
Do we have to vote on anything? We don't have to vote on anything tonight, do we?
Listen, in general, I'm in favor of solar panels. I have them on my house.
Perfect.
And we're, in the village of Rybrook, we're investigating solarized Westchester as well as sustainable Westchester. So I think all of this is great. Unfortunately, I can't stay for your presentation. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Excellent. All right, we'll carry the water. Me and Joe Sach. Joe, you ready?
Gee, I was about to walk out, but I guess I can't anymore.
Hey, listen, if you both say yes.
If you all go, then you're leaving it to me. I got it fine. Thank you.
Well, good evening again, Supervisor Carvin.
Are you going to have any numbers for us tonight at all?
I'm not. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for having me here
Yep.
again.
and Mayor Sach as well. I think from our preliminary discussion back in November, and Mr. Sach wasn't on the board at the time, we did have an opportunity to do some preliminary design work and basically come up with an idea of how we would, where we would place the array and what would be done.
Okay.
With that said, we have a layout here which shows exactly where the solar panels would be placed on what's called a carport array. Okay? And as you see, this array here would connect into your electrical gear and provide enough power and eliminate your consumption at the park itself. They have 2 meters down there, which is Dearborn Bath and Dearborn Entire. That's what they're called on your NYPA electric bills.
How much are electricity cost, Bishop?
For these 2 electric meters, you're spending about $17,000, $18,000 a year.
20,000 or so.
I was looking at 2013 bills, so it's probably changed since then. So this array, obviously, there's a number of ways that we come down to.
Can I just interrupt 1 second? We should understand, that does not include Seaside Johnny's bill. All right, he has his own separate meter and pays his own electric bill, which could be substantial.
Correct. So this would be just, this carport array was designed just to eliminate your 2 meters that Wright Town is paying, or I should say the Town Park Commission. I think from a standpoint of the financial aspect, as you asked Supervisor Carvin, are we going to look at numbers? I didn't prepare numbers simply because I didn't want to come here and
Sure.
put all of my eggs out on the
Sure,
table
sure.
and show everybody all my goods.
Yep.
I think there's more of a bigger discussion we need to have as this develops, which is how does the town, Wright Town Park Commission pay for the array? Is it going to be done through, and I have some ideas, one would be some donors, possibly. I'm sure there's several people in the city of Rye and Portchester and Rye Brook that could use a tax break. And with that being said, if there was a donation made towards the array where we could have them pay for the array, get a tax credit from that, then at that point, you're eliminating that $20,000 bill a year that you're paying now for electric usage to NYPA.
How much is the array cost to put in?
An array of this size, ballpark, please don't hold me to it, $250,000. And then again, we're going to get an incentive from NYSERDA, a cash rebate to help pay for that, which is typically around 25% of the cost. And then the balance would come from, let's say, donors. If not, then we could have a third party own the system. And the reason why we wouldn't have the Wright Town Park Commission or the town itself pay for the array out front is that 2 of the biggest incentives behind solar are the 30% federal investment tax credit and then the modified accelerated depreciation. With being a nonprofit entity, you can't use those tax credits. You can't monetize those breaks. However, again, if you have somebody that's already paying taxes to Uncle Sam and you have a few donors that say, well, if I'm writing the check anyway, if I send it to Uncle Sam, there's really no benefit, no return to me, so why don't I donate that money towards the carport array? Then the Park Commission has free electricity for the next 25 plus years and has that surplus in their budget to spend money on other things. So if we could corral, in my opinion, a few donors, again, let's use a number, $200,000 after the NYSERDA incentive, it makes sense. Because again, they're already writing that check. They're just changing the name on the
So rather
check.
than send it to the federal government, they send it to Wright Town
Exactly.
Park.
They're writing the check anyway. Just
Right.
put a different name on the check
Right.
and see the benefit down at the park where every year you're gaining $20,000, $21,000, $22,000 each year in savings.
Do they get the tax benefit? Well, then they get the tax benefit from the donation.
Well, they would. I think the way we'd have to structure it is that we'd have to do some
Set up a not-for-profit.
some type of entity. Maybe they donate it to the Wright Town
Right.
Friends, the Friends group, and then the Friends group donates it to
Right.
the Town Park Commission.
Do you have a sense, last time I thought you had a picture of what it would look like.
Yeah, we have I have a few pictures here, sure. So this is actually one that, give you an idea what it looks like. This is an array that I'm working on right now. It's hard to see this for a customer. Actually, you may know them, Smith Cairns Ford down in Yonkers. We're going to be doing an array there for them. And
Just
just
sell advertising.
There's a good shot.
That's what it's going to look like, more or less?
very similar, correct.
So, I mean, look, for me, it's real straightforward. It's the aesthetics versus the game. And so the question is really get a sense of the aesthetics. I was joking about the selling advertising. But if the aesthetics, I mean, in other words, it doesn't necessarily live. If you're providing shade to people parking in the
Yeah, it's the other opportunity here is that you're going to, all the cars that are parked under this array will be, in the shade instead of in the hot sun during the summer months. Plus, again, the park it's a park. It's a green area. You're promoting sustainability down there. You're going to be at the forefront of, as a community.
Can't you generate a surplus?
You can. Unfortunately, the tariffs are written that you can only build your carport or your solar system, I should say, to equal 110% of your consumption. So they don't want you becoming a utility.
They don't. Why not?
Just the way the rules are written.
It's just.
They want you just basically to eliminate yourself off the grid, and that's it.
Okay. Anyway.
But what we've done here is the design that we've taken into
What
consideration.
about if we incorporate Seaside Johnny's? Can we incorporate Seaside Johnny's into this?
We could. I mean, there's an opportunity where we could have him have a separate second array, and I did show on another maybe what it would look like having a second array there if Seaside Johnny's was going to look at eliminating his consumption as well.
Yeah, for instance, I mean, I think, Joe, I don't know all the ins and the outs of the proposed deal between the county and this new capital group that's coming in, but I think the county is going to keep on paying the electricity bills.
So we're talking about Playland now?
I'm talking about Playland.
Yeah.
So the thing there is, if the developer was paying the electricity bills, he'd be subject to the gross receipts tax. But the county's not. So because the county is continuing to pay the bill, even though they're not really using the electricity, the developer gets out of having to pay that tax. So I'm not happy about that as mayor of Rye necessarily, so I don't know how that plays here if we were to put Seaside Johnny's on our solar panel grid.
Here's the way I would envision it. It would be a revenue stream for Rye Town Park Commission. And the reason why would be is that if we built an array to eliminate his usage and you guys took that meter over, you're now going to be selling the power from this solar carport array to him. So the tax wouldn't matter because you now have all that income. You're becoming the utility for him. So the meter would have to be transferred into your name. It would now become a Dearborn Seaside Johnny meter, right, under Rye Town Park. And then any power that he consumes from that solar array, you would invoice him every month for that power.
So, I mean, I guess that would have to be worked out, but if that component wasn't part of it, I agree with Supervisor Carvin that, for $18,000 a year, is it worth putting this somewhat aesthetically unpleasing thing smack dab in the middle of our parking lot? That, it looks like a gas station canopy almost,
In a way, it's definitely a large structure.
Could you go to those photos again?
Yeah, sure.
Can you give me that one right there? All right.
Yep.
And then, sorry, just let me look at the range of photos if I could. Sorry.
So we start here and then.
Yeah.
So that would be about 12 feet tall.
Now again, this carport array is a Y-shaped array. The one that we've designed down at the down here at Rye Town Park would be just a flat array, so it wouldn't have that Y shape to it. It would just be flat across.
We'd be green, right? We'd be green.
Yeah, sustainability.
I think. Have you ever seen a carport?
But we're generating a lot more electricity than just our $18,000 worth, right? I mean, the main benefit of this is to people who are investing in it, right?
Well, let me understand your question.
No, we're
so
not generating more than that.
when you say you're generating more than $18,000, this array is eliminating exactly what you're consuming down at the park.
So zero cost.
So right, it would eliminate what your consumption is. Correct.
Right, but it seems like an awfully lot, it seems like a lot of solar panels just for an $18,000 bill.
Because you're looking at just the dollar amount, you have to look at the consumption in kilowatt hours, and that's what it takes to build, to eliminate that type of
What are we
consumption.
talking, how much consumption?
About 112,000 kilowatt hours a year.
Wow.
Yep.
And that's only for half the year use, right?
Well, that's total. That's
Right,
your
but I'm
total-
saying we don't really use it half the year, right?
Well, we have lights that are on all season. So
Hey,
the
Bill
lights-
and Fred,
the
what are you
lights
guys
throughout the
doing?
park
What
are
kind of
there.
air conditioning? You're down to about 50 degrees in there. The summertime.
It's certainly a lot of lights.
Goldie, turn that air conditioner off.
But also, remember our
do you have any places we could look? Were you saying you're building one in Yonkers?
We're going to be building one in Yonkers. I'm working one here very close by. I don't want to mention a name
Right.
yet, but a large S&P 500 company.
And we can go see it?
That's still in the process. But Smith Cairns, we should be starting probably in the next 60 to 90 days.
What about, how much is Seaside Johnny? Do we have any idea how much, I mean,
We'd have to get his bills. He actually, those
But
bills.
you can figure it out by the kilowatt hours, right? So we're 112. How much do you know how many he does?
I don't have his, he actually has his own bills. We'd have to ask him for those.
Do you think it's comparable usage?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, he's
See,
he's
our-
using
our-
fans,
understand our
lighting.
costs.
40,000. All of a sudden you're at 40,000.
Right. Our
I mean,
costs.
I got to believe there's a way to make it look nice.
Well, I mean, listen, this is, again, a cartoon rendering, so
Right,
it's
right.
not going to look that, pleasing. I think if you saw one live, it may be a different view.
Do you have live in other states?
Well, there's ones in Connecticut.
Do you have any photos of those?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact.
Is that what you're looking at for our park?
That's correct. So that's something it would look like, exactly like that one. It would be flat like
That's
that.
from the roof.
Yeah, that's it's taken from a high above, yeah.
And then can we go down now?
Yeah, let's see if we can go a little lower. Yep. I can give you another couple other views. Let's see. Let's go back here. This is the General Motors one that we did.
That looks like the one that's one like you're talking about, right?
Yep, that's exactly right. So you figure if you look at that one there, that's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 or 6 car spaces, and we're probably looking at 18 to 22 spaces.
You don't lose any spaces, do we?
No, none at all. So I mean, I think from Mayor Sach's perspective, you look at this as an unpleasant aesthetic. I mean, do you see this now? I mean, is it something that you say, wow, it's not something I'd like to look at?
In the middle of my parking lot, when it's 5 times the size of that, probably.
Okay.
But,
you have shade. I mean, the parking lot's not a great looking parking lot anyway. If we're honest, our parking lot's not like a gem right now. Well, look, I think that, again, tonight was to reintroduce the conversation. I think if we could get a better sense of the numbers,
Sure.
in other words, and the comprehensive numbers, like 20,000, I guess the real question is,
It's 20,000 a year, by the way. I just want to
understand,
confirm.
yeah,
So when you think about,
solar
solar is
40,000 a year sounds better than 20. So Bishop's telling us that Seaside Johnny's. So because you're only looking at us.
That's correct.
So if you looked at 40,000, if you get in the $40,000-$50,000 a year range, all of a sudden that's looking more attractive.
Sure.
And especially if you can fund it with donations, then it's a whole other matter, right?
I think it really makes sense.
And it's
because-
green. I mean, I think there's a whole and I guess what we could do is there's a lot of different ways. I think a lot of it's going to come down to the corporate finance structuring of this entity. Sure. And you could charge one rent, right, where the renter pays the electricity, and you can pay another rent where we absorb all the electricity charges, right? So we'd on-sell. Basically, effectively reselling them that electricity, but you get that in the rent.
That's right. You're gonna circle back and have an agreement, a power purchase agreement, where if it's not John Ambrosio or Seaside
Right.
Johnny's, whoever takes that restaurant over,
Right.
hopefully it's John.
Right.
He's done a great job down there. But hopefully,
And actually, Playland, what are they looking at this?
I don't know if Playland's looked at this. You know, it's
Bishop, you know?
I'm not
I
aware.
haven't heard it, no.
I mean, that's not a parking lot that's, I mean, the parking lot doesn't have a particular aesthetic, right? I understand that our park does, but certainly Playland Park in the middle of nowhere there.
Sure.
You know,
Well, so, I mean, I think you framed the issue correctly,
Right,
Joe.
yeah.
It is an aesthetic issue
Right.
versus, versus cost issue versus benefit issue. And then, as I think Laura Brett said, I mean, I think it's good that we're talking about this, but I don't think, we're going to decide anything, certainly not tonight. And
right.
no. I mean, Bishop already wrote a deposit check, so I hope you're all right with that. I mean, just want to make sure and clarify.
It's certified, right?
Certified, right? So, but listen, I understand there's a hurdle here, and it's an aesthetic hurdle. When
Yeah.
it comes down to it, when you think about utility rates escalating every year, energy costs don't go down. You think about where costs are going to be in 10, 15, 20, 25 years. Solar is a component that doesn't break. There's no moving parts. It's easily maintained. I think when you think of it from the value of, again, we're putting it in a park, and I understand it's a park, but it's a parking lot where it's going. It's a big piece of black pavement that you're going to put this
Hey,
structure to.
what can we charge?
The Vista is to a nationally, historically recognized.
Sure.
You know.
We've actually
Bill
installed.
Villanova said we just put a new $4 million roof on this,
Sure.
protected building.
1.4 million.
1.4 million.
Which is why we're not going on the roofs.
So, but it's
Actually, let me get those.
right next door to it. So anyway,
Actually, one
We've also
last
done-
Yeah, I think we're done. But one last question. I'm seeing charging station here. If a Tesla car comes in, can I make a charging station?
We can install charging stations, yes.
Well, wait, and so can I incorporate that into the electricity gig?
I don't know if there's
Here,
a,
Joe, here we are at the forefront,
if there's a
encouraging Tesla consumption.
Yeah.
We turn that puppy into a gas station, well, obviously
Right.
not a gas station,
an electric
electricity
station, yeah.
year-round, that would be some big bucks.
I don't know what you could charge for 2 hours or 3 hours of charging when somebody's at the beach. I don't know if there's
I'll make it winterized.
What's that?
Well, anyway, it's obviously a far more ambitious proposal.
No, of
we
course.
could heat the pond during the winter and make it a spa resort.
Yes.
Right?
There you go. We'll heat the pond, right? But I think there's a way to get around the aesthetic look of this, and we've done, believe it or not, we've put solar panels on recognized historical buildings like Dar Constitution Hall in Washington D.C., which is the Daughters of the American Revolution.
All right. Well, look, I think the
there.
issues are clear.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ford. Thanks for your presentation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think that's it for the agenda, Bishop. Anything else?
No, we covered it.
All right. Can I get a motion to bring the meeting?
Let's do it. Let's do it,
Where's
Joe.
Sach?
All right, we're done.
This is just for your information, that's all. This is just a copy of what you approved.
Okay, great. Thank you.
What I approved.
You have it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made sure, that's the budget.
Okay.
I didn't reproduce the whole packet because you guys have multiple copies of that.
Gotcha.
Beautiful.
I do want to tell you, I did get a